Here on CBS Sports HQ, we are 2 weeks from the first college football playoff rankings. Here are the odds to win the whole shebang. Ohio State, plus 270, followed by Bama, even though Indiana right now is the number 2 team in the country. They're plus 850. And then there's Oregon at 9-1. So you have 3 Big Ten teams with 3 of the 4 shortest odds to win the national championship right now. But the problem is the Big Ten has a pretty steep drop-off after those 3, where the SEC is deeper into the middle and might end up getting 5 teams into the playoff this year. Let's tier things out. We're going to go from Tier 1 to Tier 5, and we'll start with Tier 5 being teams that Tom Fornelli just wants to go away, okay? Teams Tom wants to go away. We're joined by Tom and Chip Patterson. And, Tom, you're starting with a trio of SEC teams.
Yeah, Oklahoma, LSU, and Texas. They're the same damn team, each one of them. They have a terrible offensive line. They have a quarterback who can't do anything behind that terrible offensive line because the moment he drops back to pass, he's got defenders in his face forcing him to get rid of the ball. He can't hand off to anybody because, again, the terrible offensive line is just letting the defense through like a turnstile. But at the same time, all 3 of these teams have elite defenses, which are keeping them in every single game and are giving them the chance to beat all the bad to slightly above average teams that they do face. It's just, we've seen this story every time they go up against an elite squad. They're just not good enough offensively to get it done. They're not consistent enough. And if they get to the playoff, good for them. They'll have had a successful regular season, but they're not going to win a game once they get there. So if we could just push them to the side and bring in some teams that actually have a chance to win some games, I very much appreciate it.
Okay, I need one more in there, okay? Because I think that they deserve a spot, right? They just deserve a little bit of a spot. Yeah, I know you want to push them out the door, but I drove the hype train too hard. USC at least deserves to just go away. I happen to be spoiled, and I know all of the tiers, and Lincoln Riley's Trojans are as absent as the ability to come up with the right play call in the crunch time moments of a game at Notre Dame. I mean, this is a USC team that still just has 2 losses on the season. They've got a win against Michigan, and yet they're totally absent from Tom's tiers. So can USC at least get a don't go away designation? I mean, sometimes you just want to hear your name called.
No, Chip, what USC has is a road trip to Oregon in a few weeks. That will take care of itself. The Trojans will not be in the playoff picture by the time the season ends.
Yeah, I guess USC has already gone away, Chip, so they're gone already. Tier 4, we go down a rung here to teams Tom says should be happy to be invited, and it's a pretty wide swath here because you go from an unbeaten power team all the way to a couple teams just hanging on by a thread in the Big Ten.
Yeah, these are all the teams that I considered like to be good squads and teams that will be very much in the conversation for an at-large. It's just I don't have the highest hopes for them to make deep runs. Maybe they win a game if they get a home game in the first round, but once they get to the second round, I expect that the season will end for them. But they all have, strengths, and they all have weaknesses, and you look at it. Ole Miss, they got off to a great start, but we saw they had their first real test of the season against Georgia, and they hung in the game, but they're just not quite at the same level as Georgia. Vandy is one of the best stories in college football, and maybe they could make a run. They're in the top 10 for the first time ever. It's just I don't look at Vandy as a team that's capable of winning a national title, so getting to the playoff, whether they win a game there or not, would be thrilling for that program. And I think you could say the same of BYU, Missouri, Illinois, and at this point, Michigan, because they came into the year with expectations that they would be better than last season, but they don't sit and look at themselves as a team that's capable of winning the national title. So if they were able to get back to the college football playoff with Bryce Underwood as his true freshman, they would feel great about things heading into the future. So I don't think these are basically just teams I think that have a shot, but they would just be happy to be there.
For the program history's sake, sure, I definitely get it for Ole Miss. I mean, they haven't even played for an SEC championship in the title game era. That goes back to 1992. So, yeah, they would be happy to get that CFP invitation, but I got to think internally you're going to have a little bit more of an expectation that you can get in and win some games. This feels a little bit low for the Rebels at the risk of becoming a meme of other media members. Honestly, I came away a little more impressed with Ole Miss. I mean, the Rebels held themselves well out there in Athens. I thought they did a good job of preparation. I thought they traded paint in a big-time manner. And Trinidad Chambliss, he won a national championship with Division II Ferris State. He's got that kind of X-factor mentality when it comes to being able to make plays with your feet, if everything is overplanned and overschemed in a college football playoff environment, Chambliss is the kind of guy that you can't really game plan for. So, I understand the reasoning here, especially in terms of the program and the fan base, but I bet internally if Ole Miss makes it to the big dance, they'd hope to stay more than one song.
They can make Oklahoma go away, maybe for good, this weekend. By the way, that only unbeaten team in there, BYU, they're an underdog this week on the road at unranked Iowa State. All right, to Tier 3 we go. Talented threats. Tom, big brands who have at least one blemish so far this season.
Yeah, and there are 4 teams that you look at, and they have some weaknesses. We've seen them drop games. Oregon lost at home to Indiana. We all remember what happened to Miami on Friday night against Louisville. And then you've got Georgia, who lost to Alabama like it always does, and Notre Dame, who started the season 0-2. But when you look at the talent on these rosters, these are teams that are chock full of NFL players. So if they can get to the playoff, whether they win their conferences or not, whether they earn a first-round bye or not, they are serious threats to win games and make a deep run, even if they barely get in by the skin of their teeth, which if you look at Notre Dame, considering they started 0-2, if they have to win 10 straight games to get an at-large spot, that's getting in by the skin of your teeth. But they're a very good team that has improved as the season has gone along, and they have a quarterback in C.J. Carr who has proven to be one of the better quarterbacks in the country. So I think all 4 of these teams are teams with weaknesses, but if you ask anybody else in the playoffs that gets there, they're not 4 teams that anybody's going to be particularly excited to see on the sideline across from them.
I love this tier. These are all teams that, because of the way the season has gone or would finish, that might not get one of those buys that get you right on into the quarterfinals, but they all kind of have that aspect, much like Notre Dame from last year, which makes it interesting, the Fighting Irish in the same position once again. But you could tell me that any one of these teams, like Notre Dame last year, got hot, strung together a couple of victories, and found themselves making it all the way to the final Monday night. The threads that Tom pointed out, I'm right there with you. These are all teams that I could see winning a national championship, and I could see them doing it from the 5, 6, 7, or 8 line in the Big 12 team bracket.
All right, let's move down to the second tier, Tier 2. And I don't know if this is a typo or what. What the hell did you call this tier, Tom?
This is the nouveau riche tier. These are the teams that aren't supposed to be here, but suddenly got into some money, and now look at them. They're powerhouses in the NIL and transfer portal era. I'm talking about Indiana, Texas A&M, and Texas Tech. Now, there are probably some Texas A&M fans who are taking offense to the fact that I've put them with Texas Tech and Indiana, but let's be real, A&M. There are 3 national titles between these 3 programs, and you have them all. But the last one was in 1939. You haven't won a conference title since 1998. You are not a blue blood original traditional status, no matter what you want to think. You are a program that has poured money into it and has failed before with Jimbo Fisher. But this time you brought in Mike Elko, and everything is going to plan. You are very talented. You are an excellent team. You are undefeated. And you are a legitimate threat in the SEC to win that league and earn a first-round bye. So I think that you should be very happy with where you are, and I think you can make a run. As for Indiana, this is a program that in recent years decided, you know what? We're kind of sick of being a basketball school. We're not even that good in basketball anymore. Maybe we should be a football school. So they put a bunch of money into the football program, and look at them now. They're number 2 in the nation in both the major polls. They are one of the favorites to win the Big Ten right after Ohio State, and they could make a deep run. We just saw them go on the road and beat Oregon a couple of weeks ago. And as for Texas Tech, they are coming off their first loss of the season. They did not have their starting quarterback, Baron Morton, in that game. They were without one of their best defensive linemen in Skylar Gill-Howard. But overall, when you look at the talent on this level, on this team, particularly along the lines of scrimmage, they are the class of the Big 12. And I think if you look at them compared to those teams, even with that loss, you have to like the odds of winning the Big 12, having only 1 loss and getting a first-round bye, which makes them a threat if they break into the field.
I'm really worried that Texas Tech has energy money on the defensive side and NFTs on the offensive side, and now all of a sudden that board ape ain't worth anything. I mean, last couple of weeks, where has it been? Hey, you rip off like a long Cameron Dickey run, you maybe get an explosive play from Will Hammond, but man, in the red zone, it doesn't seem to be clicking. The efficiency isn't always there. It definitely was not against Arizona State. I still think Texas Tech defensively is among the best, and that's where it does seem like all the money spent has really paid off. But others might say buy the dip. gentlemen, but I'm a little bit concerned about the current stock price of Texas Tech in terms of the college football playoff. Obviously, you win the Big 12, you're still going to get there. But the last 2 weeks, the win against Houston and then the loss to Arizona State, now I'm starting to really reconsider my position there.
No, Chip, see, that's how oil works. You dig a bunch of holes and you miss 90% of the time, but then that 10% of the time you strike gold and it just starts spouting all over the place and you're scoring long touchdowns. The offense is just as much oil money as the defense is.
All right, let's move down to Tier 1. And, Tom, only 2 teams on this tier?
Yeah, I mean, they're the who you expect to be here. Everybody knew at the start of the season Ohio State and Alabama would be in the title race because they're Ohio State and they're Alabama. And I think that I've said before, if I look at things now and you tell me to pick a national champion, I'm going to pick Ohio State. I do think that they are the best team in the country, and I do think they are the most likely to win a national title. And I'll say right now, if the Buckeyes do win the national title and go back-to-back in the 12-team playoff era, it's the most impressive thing that any college football program in history has ever done in the sport, considering all they lost, both on the roster and on their coaching staff. To be able to reload, come back, and do it again would be incredible. As for Alabama, go back to the season opener against Florida State. We're all shocked by what happened in that game, them losing on the road against the Seminoles. And we're all kind of shocked what's happened afterwards with Florida State. What's not as shocking is that Alabama is getting better every single week. Ty Simpson at quarterback is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I think he might be the best quarterback in the country. Defensively, they are shutting teams down. And if you look at them on offense, the only weakness that they have at this point is they haven't been able to run the ball very well, but they have 3 very good wide receivers, a very good quarterback, and a very good defense. And I just look at this team and I say, if there's anybody who I think will pose a true threat to Ohio State by the end of the year, with the rate that they keep getting better, it's the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Sign me up for this title game. I would take it right now because we came into this season talking about Arch Manning, Garrett Nussmeier, Lenoris Sellers. No. 2 of the best quarterbacks in the country right now are these 2 quarterbacks right here. You just talked about Ty Simpson. Julian Sayin keeps getting better every single week as well. These are the alphas at the QB position that we've been missing out on. I think it's just very, very impressive what we've seen from both of these teams. So Ohio State and Alabama, blue bloods, and at this point, given the quality that they have shown, I would love to see them both make deep runs in the college football playoff.
Yeah, Georgia fans might be saying, why aren't we in this tier? We've got the same record. We're on a run, too. Well, Alabama went into Georgia and beat them 24-21 just a few weeks ago. Our thanks to Tom Fornelli putting together these tiers 1 through 5 for the college football playoff. 2 weeks away from the first CFP rankings. They just got done with a brand new Cover 3 podcast upon further review Monday. The latest on the coaching carousel, AP poll reactions, and more from the Cover 3 crew.